So, Berto, Black Mirror, Season 7, 2025, Episode 3, Hotel Reverie.
Wow.
Let's talk about it. What do you say?
Let's do it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda.
My name is Humberto Castañeda, and I shine seatbelts.
So this episode stars Issa Rae, Emma Corrin, and Awkwafina, written by Charlie Brooker, who is the showrunner. So I'm going to quickly go through the plot, and if I'm panting, it's because I just ran to the bathroom and then got another cup of coffee, and I was going up and down the stairs, and so if it sounds like I'm panting, it's because... Okay, so Brandy, she is an actress, played by Issa Rae. Brandy, an actress, she is an A-lister, and she's struggling with mid-career kind of things where she is either given the choice between playing depressing Sundance movies
Right.
or dumb blockbusters where she's the romance object. And she wants to be in a classic. And she wants to be in a movie where she has agency. Mm-hmm. And she seemingly wants romance in her life,
Right.
just personally.
We didn't... I don't know if that was indicated early, right? But we certainly... discover that,
yeah, that her life is lonely, and I mean, we see a little bit of it in the beginning. She is in a nice house,
right,
alone.
Yeah.
She's not like depressed or anything, but it doesn't look like a very active social life, you know.
Yeah.
So she's cast in a remake of Hotel Reverie, which is like Casablanca.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. The production uses this technology called Redream, which is an AI-based virtual reality system. The AI watches the movie and creates all the characters and the setting, and then Brandy, the real human, through virtual reality, enters into the world of the movie as one of the characters and can interact with the NPCs because each of the characters has been programmed to believe that they're actual humans acting in normal ways. There must be code in there telling them, influencing what they say in particular moments if they have lines and that kind of thing. But
yeah.
And so Brandy is hired to do this remake of this movie, Hotel Reverie.
Which by the way, other than the photorealistic 3D accuracy holographic, blah, 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 you could basically do... a medium job of this with some group of LLMs playing out, and you tell them, hey, play out these roles from this famous movie, and it'll know all its lines, and it'll know when to say them and all these kinds of things. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, if it was just text-based,
right,
it would, and you could convert the text later to emulate the voices, but we're not really at the point yet where you can do video. I mean, that's soon.
Well, you can do the voices even, but the video not quite yet.
Yeah, I've even done this as an experiment to see how well AI can do this kind of thing. I've asked it to, I actually essentially kind of did this. I asked it to treat me like I was Jon Snow, or that I was Robb Stark, and at a particular point, and then it very accurately painted the scene. And if I had asked it to be more specific, it would have, and it would, create lines, and then I would say stuff, and then it would say stuff back to me.
Did it tell you know nothing?
No, that's Jon Snow.
What did you say?
Robb Stark.
Oh,
I said Jon Snow, but what I meant to say was Robb Stark. Anyway.
Okay.
So they only have money, the production, to shoot for that afternoon, which I have to say, in rewatching it a second time, is a silly premise because they don't need to be in the studio. They can do this from her house.
Don't get me started.
Okay. Going on. Brandy, in making the, trying to remake this episode or remake this movie that she's memorized by heart, essentially, because she loves this movie, she messes up the piano part and the story gets off script. So Brandy has to get the story back on track. And Brandy accidentally calls Clara, this character, by her actress name, Dorothy. This triggers memories of Dorothy's real life because Clara is coded on not only information from the movie, but also interviews with Dorothy, the actress, to get mannerisms and voice, that kind of thing. So the character of Clara has a bit of Dorothy DNA in there. Brandy and Clara fall in love and they kiss and it's very romantic. And then everyone is like watching this kind of diversion from the original script because
several things have gone wrong, so they've had to improvise. The kiss is way steamier.
Right. Because it's a movie from the 1940s and they wouldn't have done that. And it kind of seems like Brandy and Clara are legitimately falling in love. Like this real human being with this real AI bot are legitimately falling in love and in lust.
And as we know, if you are a geeky computer guy watching a steamy scene like that, the first thing you do is you spill your coffee on your computer.
Which is what happens.
Oh, what?
And then Brandy and Clara are still working, but everyone else is frozen, which is kind of weird because why wouldn't Clara be frozen as
She's
well?
imbued with soul.
Okay. Then they can't get Brandy out, which
makes a lot of sense.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense. Time apparently moves very quickly in the computer world. So like several months go by where Brandy and Clara are the only ones alive in this world. And the real Brandy knows that she's in a computer simulation. Right. This is another set of asterisks.
Because you remember earlier in the scenes when they are watching the scenes play out in real time.
It's second to second.
Oh, how does that work? That's so
right.
confusing.
Yeah. And also, Brandy doesn't go crazy. She's totally fine. Now you could argue that she's in young love, and so she's happy to be in that world. But there's no comment on, oh my God, for months. I mean, after the first day, because everything would be different. She probably doesn't have to eat in that world, right? Because she's not hungry in the real world. She probably isn't sleeping. But even if she is, she has no knowledge. They haven't been able to communicate with her. They haven't been able to say, oh, by the way, time's going to go by. No one says. She's just in the dark, and she's not going batshit crazy.
She's constantly not trying to get out.
Yeah, you'd think she'd... Anyway, another thing that bothered me about this episode was when everything starts to break down, Brandy, the real human, is telling Clara, oh my God, something's wrong with the computer. And Clara, the AI bot, is like, what are you talking about? And Brandy, the real human, immediately starts to berate Clara. She's like, Clara, you don't exist.
Yeah.
You're just computer code. And Clara's like, what's going on? And Brandy's like, oh, I throw my hands up. You're ridiculous, you know? And I'm like, one, you were just in love with this character and you knew the character was a bot.
Yeah.
And now that things have stopped and there's a glitch for about 2 minutes, suddenly
it's an object of your
suddenly you're treating Clara like shit. But I thought, well, because this is a rom-com. Okay?
Sure.
With a tragic ending, like Casablanca. But I thought you need to have that, I can't remember what they call it, but there's something in rom-coms where the couple has a falling out.
Okay.
And it's known that 99% of the time that falling out makes no sense. But they just need to make it.
I see.
You know, the classic is that my buddies put me up to hitting on you.
Right.
And... but then I fell in love with you.
Right.
But she's like, she only... Then
you never loved me in the first place.
Yeah, and she doesn't stop and think, okay, well, that wasn't cool that you came up to me in a false manner, but yeah, I think we really did fall in love. And he's telling me that he really fell in love with me.
But I've seen movies like this, and I'm supposed to be pissed.
So maybe I should slow the F down and just say, well... So what happened? And, prove to me that you love, or so, instead of just like, I'm done with you. Anyway, so Clara, the characters, I'm looking at my notes. Let's see. Oh, Clara, the character learns. I said leans.
Leans.
The character, Clara, the AI bot, she learns that Dorothy was bi or gay because she starts to have these flashbacks to these scenes of Dorothy, the actress in real life, actually being attracted to women or at least one woman that she was in love with.
Right.
But because of the times, she couldn't enact that, or we don't really get much of a background around that. And that led to Dorothy, the actress, dying young because she wasn't able to live her life, right? That's kind of the implication that they show us. They don't really tell us.
She died of a broken heart, just like Princess Amidala.
Well, she died from a drug overdose or something, right? It was some kind of...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Clara and Brandy, the real human, they live several months as a loving couple. Brandy worries that Clara isn't real, and therefore maybe the love isn't real. Just then, they reset the story, and Clara is reset. And so now Brandy is like, oh my God, this AI bot that I fell in love with has been reset. That sucks for me. But she doesn't really have a reaction to that
right.
in the episode. So this all just comes down to like just kind of bad writing.
By the way, can I ask a quick question?
Huh.
So the computer's moving at computer speed, months are going by. Does that mean the neurons in her brain are speeding up so they can write new memories that quickly?
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah, right. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So they need to complete them. So here's another thing that I just. So you tell me. You fill in the blank, Berto. I can't even say it out loud. But like, what's the whole ending premise?
Okay, so the ending premise is that the ending of their filming or the ending of.
Well, I'll just say it. So they can't get her out.
Right, but they have to carry out all the scenes.
They're worried that they won't be able to extract Brandy out of the simulation, that she will forever be or die.
Yeah.
And the only way to get her out of the simulation
to finish the movie
is to say the last line.
That's right, because that finishes the movie.
Yeah.
Like whatever algorithm, it's like, there's this thing called a checksum. When you send a packet digitally online, you can grab all the bytes from that digital packet and do a thing called a checksum, which is essentially a mathematical quick way to see if something changed. Because if you run the same mathematical operation and you get a different result after it's been sent, you're like, ooh, something changed. Well, in this case, this algorithm they're using, they're like, I don't care how much changes along the way. You can really rewrite the whole thing. As long as you say the last line and kind of rush it and you don't even have to say it the same way, then we're good. Then we're finished.
But why?
Because, listen.
So if we again, and I know you're going to just say something sarcastic, but I just want to lay out what is happening here. And of course, this tech doesn't exist, so maybe hand wave, but they have a device on her head which will circumvent their actual perceptions, will hack their perceptual
so it puts them under.
So, well, they're not under, but they have all their perceptions hacked in by the computer. So their visual, their feeling.
But they're not moving, right? They can't move around for real. They can only
right. So I guess it hacks in their movement. Like it gets the impulse to move, but instead of moving the body, it moves the virtual avatar. So that's what it's doing. What possible harm could occur if you just pulled the thing off?
You can't do it that way because what happens is that's too sudden. It's too shocking to the system. The only way your brain can process that it's time to come out of that coma, essentially, is if you feel you've completed something.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Dude, okay, you could be a hater.
And even if that were true, okay, fine. And I feel like there's too many Apple, because so every time Stacy, because I have a PC, Stacy has an Apple, and we have a lot of moments where I have to give her a file on a thumb drive. Yeah. And I just pull the thumb drive out of the computer.
You can't do that. You got to say the last line.
Because Apple are so stupid or out of date that they require you to tell
eject the thing.
It doesn't need to do that.
Dude,
it's just flash memory.
You're gambling with your own life here.
It's an old like echo or something of hard drives as they're spinning and writing, and if you disconnect the power, the needle can literally scratch the fucking disk.
So you realize if you pull that thing while it's trying to do an operation, the voltage alone could shock you into submission.
So anyway, it just kind of had that feel to it.
So you're dogging a lot on this, but let me tell you, having grown up with Hotel Reverie, and that was one of my favorite movies growing up, the attention to detail they put into recreating all those environments of Hotel Reverie and the scenes and the ambiance and the music, I really was transported back to my childhood, because that is, that you have to give them credit. Did you watch Hotel Reverie growing up?
No.
Oh, well, I thought everyone had. I mean, listen, if you're going to make a show like this and you're going to use a fake classic, it's going to be nearly impossible for the audience to give a shit about it. Because, we're sitting there oh, this is the moment where the lady died. This is not a real movie. Well, I don't care about any of this.
So, yeah, I agree. But the one thing I will say that I liked about this episode that I thought was actually done very well is the Clara Dorothy storyline and the way it was written and the way it was acted. You have this actress who has this tragic backstory that was, I thought, compelling. And the actress, I can't remember her name. I only know her from The Crown. She plays one of the season's versions of Princess Diana.
Yeah.
And she does it very, very well in The Crown. And she is a very good actress in this movie as well, or this episode. She has a classic sort of delicate integrity or dignity in her or something. Anyway, and there's also a fragility there that she played well with.
I liked her in The Crown a lot, for sure.
Yeah. And so in this episode, her storyline in and of itself, and even the sacrifice at the end where, she decides to take the bullet, that kind of stuff. I mean, but if I just see it through her eyes,
sure.
You know what I mean? And the tragedy of her being reset when they just reset the computer is also pretty awful.
Right,
and the way that Brandy is yelling at her as she's like, wait, I'm a bot. And the way that she experiments with the edge of the set and she walks into the black void, and that's where she starts to see code that is also involved in her programming that has actual stories about Dorothy, the actress. If they would have just focused on Clara and that actress and that storyline, I think it could have been an amazing episode.
I agree with you. Here's what I would have done. Script doctor, this is my new edit of this whole thing. First of all, I burn what's there to the ground. Everyone involved is fired, never to come back. Done. I give it a 3. But we're going to try again. So I repent. I call them back. I'm like, okay. I was a little impulsive. You're rehired, but we're going to rewrite this thing.
By the way, I gave it a 5 out of 10. So, because it's still better than all CSI episodes. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't know, but I fell asleep 3 times trying to get through this damn thing.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Okay, but here's what I would do. I agree with you. I would scrap the whole Hotel Reverie bullshit because it's not a real classic. None of those scenes matter at all. Even the thing they're trying to show us as a classic.
But they couldn't get the rights for Casablanca.
I'm not saying, wait, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying the Hotel Reverie thing, it didn't work. I don't care about any of the scenes. The movie,
let's take a break. We get back. And because I want to have people sit through the ads.
Okay.
And then we get back. Berto, you'll
unleash.
Yeah. All right, Berto, back from the break. Unleash.
Okay, so listen, I sat there and I'm like, okay, the movie they're presenting, this Hotel Reverie, already seems like a bad, boring movie. I don't know why it was classic in the first place. It's stupid. The husband wants to kill her. That's the whole thing. There's a dog, an annoying dog. The lady dies. Okay, big deal. There's a beautiful scene where he plays the piano. I don't care. The husband's got goons. I don't care about any of it. It doesn't ring like a classic that I care about. So I would scrap all of that. I'm like, forget all that. Remaking the classic. Forget all that. What it is very simple. There's this company. It's now specializing on making movies that employ digital actors. But they've found that in general, to sell the movies, they need at least one or a few real, actors. So they do that. So they call her in.
And you can see that being real, right?
Absolutely.
You can see you need an A-list human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's set. It can be set in the past. If you want to set it in the past, fine. Just set it in the past. It's okay. You bring her in. She goes in. Everything else is the same. She goes into the simulation. She's carrying out the simulation with this other actress. And then something goes wrong and they get stuck. Now, in this thing, I'm even going to let him have the stupid, more time goes by, but I'm not going to do months. I'm just going to be maybe a couple weeks or something. But either way, I do what you're saying. I focus on their relationship, right? And about them developing a real romance that you shouldn't have. And then the tragedy of the episode
maybe something that's more grounded in reality. Like, what would an actual human like Brandy do when suddenly she's stuck for months in a computer?
Like, and they really do develop this Groundhog Day kind of situation, relationship. Okay, and then that moment, which I agree was a good moment, where she realizes basically she's about to die, because as soon as they reboot the thing, this person she fell in love with is basically gone. I mean, in the sense that all the memories, all the knowledge, she's not going to be in love with her anymore. Like, that's dramatic. So I like that. I keep that. And then I guess I like that ending where she's having this sort of like phone calls with her and like, make the same thing. I would scrap all that other stuff, because that other stuff in my mind, also the backstory I felt was unnecessary. I didn't need the backstory, because it's kind of like, they added too many ingredients to the thing. The actress was a mysterious recluse. She died. I don't care. Like, just make it about these two people, virtual, non-virtual, falling in love, and the tragedy of losing that. I like it. So that would have been my fix to the episode.
Okay. Well, so I gave it a 5 out of 10. You gave it a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty low.
Yeah. Well, because I didn't like the premise, the stupid Casablanca ripoff. It just seemed boring and dumb. I didn't like the tech. Too many complaints about the tech. I was bored at many times, and I agree with you that all this time is passing by and it didn't feel realistic in the least. The only parts that I agree with you felt realistic is I liked their budding relationship and the tragedy of the loss. So
I sneezed.
That's not enough for me to give it more than a 3, maybe a 4.
So, all right, let's talk about some of the themes here in the tech. So, Redream, aside from coffee on the computer, and they have to do it in a movie studio, which is completely...
And they only have one day. And, oh, by the way...
They could do this in an office building. They could come to her house.
Imagine, you have the technology to recreate dozens of basically human looking and sounding beings running around a set, all this dynamically simulated in full glorious 3D. And then, you have all that technology, but you cannot make it so that when she goes to play piano, it just works. Yeah. That's so dumb. Yeah. Why do you need her to actually, and also didn't no one know, like, that was so dumb, such a dumb moment. Yeah. They could have easily had her this in there and it sounds beautiful and her hands look correct.
Yeah.
Why not?
Like, if they needed a time crunch, maybe the system was on rental or something.
Yeah. And had she not read the script, she didn't know that there was a piano thing in the script. Like it's so dumb.
Anyways, right. Yeah.
So yeah, the time crunch is silly. Like, we only have one day. We got to get it. Yeah. The fact that she's locked into the system. Like, now, maybe if they had explained it better. Like I said, like, maybe there is a thing where they warn her up front. Like, why couldn't they have done that? Hey, there is a risk involved here, just so you know. The way this works is it like does blah, 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 hokey thing. And what happens is you have to be under for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. If we pull you out sooner, you might be scrambled. Like, okay, something like that. And then we're like, okay, fine. Then now we understand why she's under for 4 hours, even while the thing is not working or whatever. And then they have to rush at the end, something. Instead, they didn't explain it. And so you and I are left to wonder, why can't they pull her out?
Yeah. Now, if we talk about some of the themes, this touches on something that I don't know if it resonates with a lot of audience people like ourselves, but there's a real threat in Hollywood about deep fakes and about recreations. Yep. We've already seen this kind of thing, like resurrecting Carrie Fisher in episode 9.
Yep.
Which was just horrible.
And Grand Moff Tarkin, right?
But at least that was like understandable in terms of the script. But Carrie Fisher in episode 9,
when she's floating through the thing, and
no, you're talking about episode 8.
Oh wait, which one? How did they recreate?
So you probably forgot, but she's dead.
Yeah.
And they took scenes from episode 8 footage.
Okay.
And digitally inserted it into conversations with Rey in episode 9, and it is like a Tim and Eric episode.
Oh, I think I remember. This is when she's training, right? She's like doing her training, and then there's a moment where she stops training and she's having a conversation with Princess Leia.
It's throughout the movie.
Yeah. Well,
Princess Leia dead.
Yeah.
Way before production for episode 9.
Right.
And Carrie Fisher is throughout episode 9 Star Wars.
Yeah.
And there's all these little scenes where Rey will be talking to the digital Carrie Fisher, and Rey will say something like, "I just don't know what to do." And then a digital Carrie Fisher will say, because they had her saying some line that they didn't include in episode 8, and Carrie Fisher says something like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" or something like that. And
that them's the breaks.
and it's again, it's like an SNL skit.
So this is. You will recall in The Sopranos, they did this when the mother died in real life.
Right.
But it was only half of, or even less. It was the first few scenes of one episode.
It was still atrocious.
And even that was bad.
It was so obvious.
Yeah.
And again, even episode 9, with all the money and the Disney, you can still see the outline of Photoshop around Carrie Fisher. It doesn't look real.
I know.
And we didn't need it.
And you didn't need it. No.
Everyone expected the actress is dead.
Yeah.
So all you have to do in the prologue is show her from behind doing something, and then she dies or something. You know, she dies off. No one would have faulted her, or no one would have faulted the production for that. But anyway, so deep fakes are a thing, and it's just going to happen more and more. You're going to have the estate of Clint Eastwood or of Humphrey Bogart or whatever. Clint Eastwood isn't dead yet, but when he does die, that's what I mean.
Clint Eastwood's still alive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
But remember, Bruce Willis apparently gave, because he can no longer act, but he's given rights to do.
So there will be movies, for better or for worse, that will have these actors, and we're not there yet because it's still pretty bad. Yeah. You can tell.
But it's getting there. And it will be there soon.
Yeah. And what does this mean? And what does it mean for actors? What does it mean for... Because if, 20 years from now, I can ask AI with some coaching to write a script, and then I can ask AI to put it into action. And we've talked about this before, that on one level, it's like horrible for labor, right? You could even just say, make a movie with actors that don't exist, just make up their faces. So on one hand, it's horrible for labor and can cause a lot of problems. But on the other hand, we've talked about how I can rewrite episode 9's Star Wars and just on my own computer, just say like, okay, start with the premise from episode 8 and write a new script, and then show me that movie.
Right.
And or take this movie that already existed and take out Canto Bight from episode 8.
Right.
And I just don't want to see that.
Is that the casino?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or take out this one distracting line from this one scene and make it a perfect movie for me, or know my preferences, and I'm watching a new movie and the AI just kind of knows, well, he doesn't really like overly schmaltzy scenes, so I'm going to alter this one scene. And maybe even kind of like Bandersnatch, where not exactly the same, because
where you can choose your own adventure sort of thing.
Well, where you either fill out a survey of preferences, or the AI just knows your preferences, and the episode or the movie is made with that in mind, that everyone is going to see a different movie.
Right.
Everyone is going to have different preferences. Someone wants a little bit more romance.
I love it. So that way I'm like, hey, Kirk, how was your weekend? Oh, dude, did you watch Star Wars episode 25? I did. What did you think? Well, I liked the one part, but when he's like shooting the alien, I'm like, what part? I didn't see that part. Oh, and then it turns out we have never seen the same movie.
Yeah, and maybe the way that it keeps it grounded in the larger story is that there are certain story beats that have to happen. Right. But in terms of so the conversation would be like, oh my God, Han Solo died or whatever. We would both agree on that.
Right. But that iconic line when he's like, I know. You're like, I didn't see that line. Yeah. Dude, it's a nightmare. No, seriously. I'm not kidding. I'm already sad about the fact that we no longer have that phenomena of like Sunday night, the show that we were all watching played the season finale, and we all watched it on Sunday night. And the next day, we were all talking about.
Well,
that's gone.
Black Mirror is nowhere near what it used to be, but at least it's kind of like
that's fair. But when you move to that direction, where it's essentially you and I have nothing in common other than some story beats, I'm sorry, man. I'm moving back to. I'm turning the dial on my little pendant and undoing that reality.
Well, so let's say that Star Wars Episode 25 comes out.
Yeah.
And you've been complaining about a certain style element of Episode 21 through 24.
Yeah.
You don't like it when they have exceedingly long lightsaber battles, or you don't like Ray Jr., who shows up like Scrappy Doo and Scooby Doo. You know, you don't like you really don't like Jar Jar Binks Part 2, you know, and you want that to be dialed back a little bit. But you really want to watch Episode 25. Are you saying you're not going to take the opportunity to dial back those things?
I am saying that I will choose, and I get that I'm probably not going to have this choice. I will choose to have the common experience with the people I love over my unique solitary nightmare.
I would definitely choose the preferences because not because I need the movie to be exactly what I want, but there are elements of storytelling that take me out of the story.
Yeah.
And I want to enjoy the story. I don't want to be pulled out of it. I don't want to be distracted by what I consider to be bad writing or something.
Yeah. I just look at it like, if you and I go to the, you and I go to the fair together. I don't know what the fair means. We go to the fair, the Renaissance fair, some fair. And we go and we have a set of experiences. Now we have that in common. And years later, I remember when we went to the fair. Oh my gosh. And then the hot dog, you were eating the hot dog and like the mustard squirted in your face. That was pretty funny. If you're like, no, that didn't happen because I've deleted that part because I didn't like that part. Now we don't have that in common.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it extends to a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
The shared experience.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a version where you both agree on the averaging of your dials.
Yeah.
And so you both do see the same movie. You know what I mean? Anyway, so let's take a break. We get back. Let's finish this up. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, back from the break. So just a few themes that we haven't talked about. One, I don't know if this was directly being commented on, but people were online talking about this theme, which is diversity remakes. Do you know this phenomenon?
Oh, yes.
What do you know about it?
Well, like like Ghostbusters, they're like, okay, well, we're going to redo Ghostbusters, but it's all women now. Or we're going to, redo this thing, but we're going to redo Harry Potter, but Snape is black. Or we're going to do, stuff like that.
And what do you think of it?
I have a few thoughts. One of them is this. Already the conversation, I feel like, is we're being tricked because I already don't like remakes to start with. For me to want to see a remake has to be something that
you do like remakes. You just like good remakes.
But
like Vanilla Sky is a remake.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yes.
Listen. Yes and no.
You just don't like bad remakes.
No. But let me explain the difference. I'm not saying this is okay or good, that America is mostly about America stuff. That U.S. is like a U.S. made movie is what we see. But sometimes a foreign movie comes out, no one sees it, and they make a U.S. version of it, and that's the one that people see. Now, I happen to have seen both, and I liked both. And I liked Vanilla Sky a lot, but I also liked the original a lot. I'm talking about the movie exists, we all watched it, and now we're going to do a new version of the same damn movie. I don't like that. And when it's like...
If you saw and watched the original movie.
Yes, exactly. So, but now that I'm already on the losing foot, I'm on my back foot. Is that the expression? I'm on the losing back foot because I don't like remakes in general. But now that we're dealing with the remake, the next question is do you mind if a character that was previously white is now black or Asian or something else? If it's not pertinent to the story, not at all. I don't care. Is he a good actor? Is she or, oh, I said he. Is she, he, whatever? Are they good actors? Do they carry the part? Do I feel it? Great. Remember, I already didn't want the freaking remake in the first place, but if we're going to have a remake, they better be good actors. This better be well delivered. Now, there are some cases where I'm going to be pulled out of the suspension of disbelief if they did it in a way that actually is pulling me out of this. So here's an example. Do I care that Hamilton has characters that are clearly not originally black or Hispanic? No, this is a musical, and I'm just learning about the story and stuff like that. But I got to admit, if I go to see a biopic about Reagan, and it's a Hispanic woman playing Reagan, unless it's a very artsy take on the whole thing, but if they're really just trying to show the story, I'm going to be pulled out of the suspension of disbelief. So there are limits to how far I go with that. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, case by case, but often, at least one thought I have is, how about we just have new stories?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I'm already on the losing back foot of the left.
Yeah. Like the TV show Beef, which was, I think, another Netflix show, involves Asian Americans just living regular lives, right? But it's all Asian Americans, and it's a brand new story. It's not a remake.
Right.
And it's a good script, and it's well made, and it was well received and marketed well. Why not just do that? If we're trying to increase representation, which I'm all for,
right,
just make something new.
Yeah.
Why rehash an old thing that feels, and in some instances is literally written into the character that they have white skin?
Right.
Just make a new thing, or make it a riff on that. Make it a reference. Like it's like, oh, this is kind of like that classic movie in that sense, but it's a completely different story with a completely different title.
Couldn't agree more. Now, one of the problems I had with this, one of the many problems, is that I actually did not understand their goal of the production company that was making the movie. I was like, wait, hold on. They want to redo the classic? Because I was thinking...
I didn't thought about it. They want to redo the movie beat for beat, scene for scene with just one
different actor.
Yeah, they want Brandy to have the same lines and do everything the same. Why would that be interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. And also, thinking of like simulating this thing, why do you need all the actual real actor simulate?
Well, and maybe it's giving it too much credit, but that is commentary on what we're talking about.
I guess so, because literally you just needed, for all the scenes that she's not in, you just need the same movie, right? Like literally the same frames. Now, maybe they're like, that's not in 4K. We are creating this so we can have it in 4K. Fine, I guess. But even then, I'd say like you have the computer technology to recreate a 4K 2D image of what you're wanting, without having to do the simulation, and the characters went to the bathroom. It's like, that's dumb. That way you don't get the dog drinking the poison that ruins your whole freaking thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to what we were talking about. I don't understand what their freaking goal was. So I was already annoyed. I'm like, what are they doing? If this was truly a classic, why are they remaking it scene for scene? That's the same classic.
Yeah, I suppose a more rational interpretation of what actually would happen is that they would want to change some of the story beats, update it somehow, right? Add like an explosion here and there, or a twist at the end that does play out differently. I wonder if people that really love these old kind of classics, if they would have really liked this episode, because it is, at least in a playful role-playing sense, giving this fantasy of being able to enter that classic movie.
But that's where I'm saying, if this, and I get, we couldn't get the rights. If this had used a real classic as its real premise, I would have been way more interested, because that does sound interesting to watch a show or a movie where they're showing us this classic, and then but then the scene doesn't go right. Because think about how interesting that might be to actually watch a real scene from a classic where the scene goes differently because the dog ate the poison. That's interesting. It's not a real movie, so you don't have anything to care about. I'm not sitting there going, the dog's gonna die. I don't care.
So how many Black Mirror points does this get?
I didn't even grade it on that scale. I was out of that game. By the way, I quit after Bet Noir. I gave it Bet Noir 8 out of 10 Black Mirror points, and then by the time I got to Hotel Reverie, I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. I can't.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Let us know what you think, and tune in next time when we review episode 4 from season 7. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.